What's up YouTube, this is Gresnick, and welcome back to another reaction video. Today I'll be reacting to Film Theory, What Everybody Missed in the FNAF 2 trailer. I'm excited for this movie since I honestly liked the first one. What did we miss? I wonder what we all missed. I didn't react to the trailer, I probably should have. I did watch it though. As always, like and subscribe to the Film Theorist and myself. Comment down below anything you'd like me to react to or just how your day is going. And let's get into this.
The new trailer for Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is finally here, and not to hype things up, but this one tells us exactly what Scott has planned for the series headed forward. I guess you could say he's the real puppet master here. Hello Internet, welcome to Film Theory, the show that's wearing a giant animatronic bear head today. I'm blending in with game theory videos right now. So, did you guys see the new FNAF 2 trailer? Well, listen, at this point, if you're familiar with the Theorist channels at all, you know we cover a lot of Five Nights at Freddy's. It feels like we've made hundreds of videos trying to solve the lore of this thing. Fun fact, but as many of you know, I was actually a video editor over on Game Theory before FNAF first even started up. I was here where the first FNAF theories got made, though I somehow managed to avoid working on them until like 2020. I was pulling a Neo and dodging all those bullets, man. But let me experience those theories as a fan, something most of the team didn't get to do. I also had the cool experience of creating a theory on the first movie when Matt was actually in that movie. He didn't tell me anything about it before that video came out, so the video wasn't really compromised, and he trusted me with that responsibility. But needless to say, my relationship with FNAF and theorizing about it's unique, which is why I'm happy to say that I'm really excited about Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Especially after the latest trailer dropped a couple weeks ago. I thought the first film was a good foundation for this series, a solid adaptation that did capture the heart of FNAF, but had area for improvement. But with this new trailer, dude, the budget bump is real. The sets, the costumes, the cinematography, everything is noticeably better. And the artists once again crushed it on the animatronic designs. Fun fact, the people who made those animatronics are actually the fine folks over at the Jim Henson Creature Shop. You probably know them best for their work on stuff like Sesame Street and The Muppets, and like the head that Deadmau5 used to wear, yeah, like the musician. We've been tracking this film every step of the way. We speculated about it using the first movie and its novelization. We tried to work out the entire plot after Scott released some maybe real, maybe fake script pages during the FNAF anniversary event, and we decoded the first teaser earlier this year. And now that we have this new full trailer, I want to continue the trend. I want to take everything we've seen up until now and see if this trailer shines a new light on that information. What else does this trailer tell us? What can we learn about the story of this new movie from the split-second shots and mysterious voiceover? Honestly, this is some of my favorite parts of theorizing. This new trailer both confirms and debunks some of our previous theories, which I think is awesome. They're keeping us on our toes, keeping us guessing, and we as a theorist community can have some real fun again, just digging into movie predictions. And real talk, but I think that this trailer legitimately changed where I thought this movie franchise was headed. So put on your Freddy masks and crank that music box, loyal theorists. We're jump scaring into this trailer. So going in here, I'm going to be trying to put these scenes together by group, trying to sort them into either where they go in the movie or by their narrative purpose. So cool? Cool. The first section of the trailer I want to cover involves what I'm going to call the Freddy Fazbear break-in. And it actually starts with the very first shot, where we get this blue van driving down a street during a rainy night. The license plate here reads out, "I see dead people," a fun little reference to The Sixth Sense. I see dead people. But another fun reference? Well, the van is basically identical to the one we see in Security Breach and in Secret of the Mimic. Now, I don't think that's really significant or anything like that. Secret of the Mimic takes place in the 70s, Security Breach in the 2020s, and we're pretty sure these movies are set in the early to mid-2000s, so it's just a fun reference. Anyway, we then see a group of characters led by a woman played by actress McKenna Grace step out of the van with flashlights, clearly looking to break into Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. She explains that this was the original Freddy's location, while the one we saw in the first film was a franchise location. Basically, it was an expansion of that brand. Funnily enough, this actually lines up with ancient theories we had about FNAF 2's restaurant being the original location all the way back when that game first released. That got jumbled by retcon after retcon, and it became really unclear over the years, but I guess this is Scott trying to really clean up the lore with the movieverse. Oh, and side note, but it's also really funny to me that McKenna Grace played a big part in the most recent Ghostbusters movie, and now she's here hunting ghosts elsewhere. Yeah, while I previously speculated that these characters might be some sort of school school bullies that would be killed by the animatronics during the climax of the movie, that clearly isn't the case. I've seen it reported online that they're instead paranormal investigators, and though I haven't found a primary source confirming this, that does seem pretty on point to me. As an avid fan of cryptids, the paranormal, and ghost hunting contents, they have all the sort of gear you'd expect. And it's also fun to see a professional Hollywood studio's take on this. Like, we see one of the men here holding a video camera filming everything inside of the restaurant, while McKenna Grace's character is holding an audio recorder. Obviously, you'd want a video camera to capture evidence of ghosts and such, and it's commonly believed that audio recording equipment like this can more easily pick up noises from ghosts or other paranormal entities when they try to communicate than the human ear. This is probably why McKenna Grace asks,
"Do you guys hear that?"
and the others question what she's even talking about. It looks like she's the only one listening through headphones here, so she's probably the only one hearing stuff only picked up by the audio recorder. There's also some faint music box melody playing in the background here during this bit, which will become quite relevant in just a moment. That being said, I also don't see other equipment you'd typically find for these sort of ghost hunting crews. They don't have a spectrometer, an EMF meter, a thermal temperature reader, or even a Microsoft Kinect. Yeah, that piece of garbage is being used in ghost hunting now. Though if these films are supposed to be set in the early to mid-2000s, then I guess it would make sense that they wouldn't have a Kinect since that wasn't out yet. Oh, and just because I wanted to mention this, I did actually try to identify what type of camera this guy was using to see if I could pinpoint a model and year it was released. Basically trying to catch the filmmakers using stuff that wouldn't have existed at the time, but I just couldn't do it. I even brought on our live action producers and Tom, who's had experience working with cameras and TV, and they called this camera, quote, painfully generic. So, yeah. They even, like, gaffed over the brand name on the camera. Like, they put tape over it so you couldn't see it. I gotta make sure you're not giving anyone an unintentional brand deal, huh? Speaking of which, does this look familiar?
Oh no, it's ad time.
Well, you need Gamer Supps. Gamer Supps GG energy drinks have vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and no sugar. Anyway, inside of the restaurant, we see a lot of FNAF imagery you would expect. We get a look at Freddy art on the floor, old merch in the form of plushies, a creepy shot of a worn-down Balloon Boy statue, though notably not the animatronic Balloon Boy we saw in the first teaser, and most interestingly to me, a pirate ship. This wasn't really a thing in the FNAF 2 game, and if anything, this reminds me way more of the Pirate Cove area you could find in Security Breach. Yeah. I'm not sure if that's going to end up meaning something significant for this movie, or if this is just another case of the film series being a giant blending of the most iconic parts of FNAF's imagery. Either way, the pirate ship is also in a big ball pit. Makes me wonder if this one also allows for time travel. Well, probably not, but I still can't believe that that's a real thing and has been a significant part of FNAF lore and come back up in recent games. Just never change FNAF. Elsewhere, we also get our first look at a sort of cave or tunnel looking area with water going through the tunnel. This is probably part of some boat attraction and is used for some pretty effective scares elsewhere in the trailer, but the thing I wanted to point out most here, well, if you look pretty closely at the walls and maybe up the brightness a bit, you'll see a bunch of figurines or plushies of the puppet. So this makes me wonder, is this part of the puppet's attraction, or is there some weird puppet cult going on here with all these plushies getting placed throughout the restaurant? This might also be a nod to the Night Marionette from Security Breach, who had plushies everywhere throughout the Pizzaplex, but that was more of an Easter egg that the community never really cracked or got a consensus on, but it's weird nonetheless. Now, speaking of the puppet, this is where we really start to get into the meat of the trailer. McKenna Grace's character finds a stairwell leading into a weird sub-basement area where she finds a giant present-looking box. There are gears all over the wall which start to spin, eventually opening the box as McKenna Grace looks up in terror. This, of course, is where the puppet animatronic comes into play here in the movie, and honestly, this setup is terrifying. I previously thought that this scene was going to be happening in the school as part of the third act climax, but clearly not, and this is way better. These investigators are taking the same role as Max and the hooligans who broke into the pizzeria in FNAF 1, showing off how dangerous these animatronics can be and that they can leave the restaurant, probably at the end of Act 1 or the middle of Act 2. McKenna Grace is getting taken out by the puppet here, and the other members of her ghost hunting crew are picked off one by the rest of the animatronics. And from the brief shot we get of Mangle on top of the van as it's driving away, it looks like at least one of the investigators will also briefly get away from the pizzeria before they're chased down and killed. It's brutal stuff, but necessary setup for this sort of horror film. Like, you gotta have stakes for the main characters, know what I mean? So the next big set of scenes from this trailer are what I'm gonna call the home life section, involving Mike, Abby, and Vanessa just trying to live their best lives. For example, we get a sequence of Mike and Vanessa out at dinner. This is clearly a pretty nice restaurant, or maybe just an Olive Garden. It's kind of hard hard to tell, but either way, this is really giving the energy of a romantic date to me. Vanessa wonders if this is what being normal feels like, and Mike comments that they're both doing fine. They've been through a lot, and you know what? I agree. Not everyone gets stabbed by their serial killer dad. That's incredibly traumatic, and it looks like Vanessa is feeling some PTSD because of it. There's another shot of Vanessa laying on a bed, clutching her stomach roughly where Afton stabbed her in the previous movie. She's probably thinking about that here, and given the lighting and color of the scene, it looks like it's connected to that cool shot from the first teaser of Afton's spirit at the end of the hallway with all of the doors magically swinging open. I'm going to guess that this is part of a dream sequence and that she's actually having recurring nightmares about Afton. There's another scene where Vanessa looks exhausted as Springtrap's hand comes in and grabs her shoulder. Very obviously a CGI arm too. This seems directly connected with the scene from the first teaser of Vanessa pulling a gun, so she's probably hallucinating her father attacking her again and pulled a gun only to find nothing there. Oh, and just before we move on from Springtrap, there's another great scene of him running down a hallway. Again, this feels like a dream to me. I don't really think that Afton's gonna play a huge role in this particular story, but they probably wanted...
Yeah, this part's definitely a dream sequence because this is him. This one looks much more like the one from the picture that Vanessa had, where he was in the suit and she was a kid. Because you can tell because it doesn't have the messed up stomach area where you could see William get spring locked during that. So yeah, this is a fully repaired one, which Springtrap wouldn't look like that if this was actually him. So yeah, this is most likely a dream sequence.
Matthew Lillard back for the name recognition and to set him up as the main antagonist for whatever they're gonna do for FNAF 3. Back to the restaurant, Vanessa asks about Abby and Mike says that she has good days.
I'm guessing this one isn't gonna have much of William in it. He's probably only gonna show up in the dream sequence. Besides that, I think they're gonna mostly save him for Five Nights at Freddy's 3, where they might actually do a 20-year time skip, kind of similar to the games where we have a 30-year one. That could be interesting.
And then days where she misses her ghostly friends. So right off the bat, that's interesting because the way this conversation is framed implies that Vanessa hasn't seen or talked to Mike and Abby for a while. Otherwise, why would she be asking about how Abby's doing? So this means that she and the Schmidts sort of went their separate ways for a bit, or that this isn't long after she got out of the hospital. We then see a shot of Abby building a little toy animatronic. This is a fun nod to the full-size toy animatronics we're going to be seeing elsewhere in the film. And it's also a bit of supporting evidence for our previous theory that someone has come in and bought the Freddy IP. I mean, Afton doesn't really seem like the type to be making deals with Mattel or Hasbro to make these sorts of toys, and Abby certainly didn't build this and cast the Chica shell out of plastic herself. Someone made and sold that toy. We also see that Abby still draws the animatronics a lot. I quite like that there's this cute little recreation of the scene where they all built the fort and then laid on the ground inside of it together from the first movie. There's also a much darker drawing here of Abby along with either Golden Freddy or original Freddy. It's kind of hard to tell, the color's a little ambiguous, it is both ears, but it's also recreating a scene with Golden Freddy. Either way, this drawing is evil looking. Is that implying that she has darker memories of that particular animatronic than she's letting on? But also interesting here is that these other drawings are of the toy animatronics, not the original ones. And there's a drawing here of Abby inside of a ship on the water. Perhaps the pirate ship we talked about earlier? So there are a couple of possibilities here. Either Abby has already visited the new location from this movie, and this scene is from later in the movie after she's drawn to the new animatronics, or they're somehow visiting her and invading her dreams, or something like that, trying to lure her to the new pizzeria. At this point, I don't really think we have enough information to outright say what's going on, but given the new animatronics seem to need the fast talker to communicate with Abby, I'm gonna guess the former option for now. Vanessa then says that
this story that you're gonna fix those animatronics is only giving her false hope.
This has a couple of interesting implications. First of all, are the animatronics broken? Did something happen? The restaurant from the first movie did kind of collapse as Afton was defeated, but most of the structure remained intact and we didn't really see any of the animatronics get hurt or broken. So maybe, someone broke in and damaged them, or...
I think the main thing that's gonna be different from game lore and movie lore is the Five Nights at Freddy's 1 animatronics from the movies and games becoming the withered ones. In the movie, the ones from FNAF 1 would turn into the Withers, when actually in game lore it's the other way around. Those ones are repaired versions instead of the originals. We don't actually ever really see the original four. The original four get withered and then get repaired into the ones we see in FNAF 1. So yeah, that's one thing pretty different in the movie, is how that's the backwards.
Or they're not functioning for some other reason? Like, is Afton's spirit somehow hurting them in some other way? Or perhaps, as we previously speculated, whomever bought the FNAF franchise might have come in and taken parts from the FNAF 1 animatronics to put them in the toy animatronics. Maybe
Probably.
That's why they're broken. Either way, we know that Mike is trying to fix them, but either can't or is pretending that he can't. It's a fun conflict setup, which leads us to our third big group of scenes, the main characters and their interactions with the new animatronics. It starts here with Abby trying to talk with her ghostly friends through the Fast Talker toy.
Can any of you hear me?
At first she gets no answer, but later, at night, the Fast Talker lights up in Abby's room, and we know this is Abby's room, just look at the drawings on the wall, and we do hear a voice coming through.
Help us, come find us, I will show you the way.
Just to get this out of the way, it looks like Mike and Abby may have moved into a nicer house that they're fixing up, or at least that's what's implied here, because this house here in the trailer is not the same one from the first film. Anyway, the spirits are now communicating through the Fast Talker, and this directly connects with the shots we see of Abby riding up to the sister location from both this trailer and the first teaser. But something else big here, the voice says,
Come find us.
Come find us. Remember, at the very end of the credits of the first movie, we hear the letters spelling out, come find me, all while the puppet's music box is playing. That implied that the puppet was asking Mike and Abby to find them. So, come find us here in the trailer is oddly similar, isn't it? So, the voice talking through the Fast Talker here, it isn't the original ghosts. It's not Abby's friends. It's the puppet trying to lure her to the new pizzeria for some reason. Other scenes in this section of the trailer include a lot of what we've seen before, or things close to it. The animatronics out and about, at the fair, in the neighborhood, at the school about to attack the character played by Wayne Knight, that sort of thing. There's also an ominous voice here saying,
Where are you going, want to? I'm not done with you.
So I couldn't immediately identify who this was supposed to be. It doesn't really sound similar to Matthew Lillard and Afton to me, even though the dialogue does make me think of him. So not 100% on who this is supposed to be yet. I just don't think we have enough information. Either way, we also get our first look at the withered animatronics, Chica, Foxy, and Bonnie. Now these are... they're weird. Given what we've talked about here with the animatronics from the first movie potentially being stripped for parts, I did have the thought that maybe these are supposed to be those animatronics. So that would make sense why they're broken down now. But that being said, they do look really different. I also asked Tom about this just to get his opinion, and he wasn't 100% sure if that could be the case. But just because they do look so different, he and I agreed that these are likely different robots. So that means we have three sets of animatronic characters at play here. The original FNAF 1 robots, the toy animatronics, and the withered ones. Man, this franchise got really big, really fast, huh? And finally, to round things out, we completely expected it, but Vanessa and Mike will be coming to visit the pizzeria at some point. There's an awesome shot of the pair getting a...
I find it funny that here he didn't use Foxy, he used, I think, Phantom Mangle. That's this character, right? Phantom Mangle. Because Withered Foxy is not in Ultimate Custom Night, which is, I'm pretty sure, where these are pulled from.
Really big, really fast, huh? And finally, to round things out, we completely expected it, but Vanessa and Mike will be coming to visit the pizzeria at some point. There's an awesome shot of the pair getting approached by Balloon Boy in the water of the pizzeria's tunnel, and a couple of incredibly effective shots of the puppet stalking Vanessa. Honestly, those two shots have to be some of my favorites of the whole freaking trailer. The fact that you can't see the puppet completely and that it's out of focus, just chef's kiss, man. And of course, there's the money shot of Mike in the pizzeria's office with no doors. We hear the laugh of a child as animatronics close in on Mike. He looks down at a Freddy Fazbear mask and thinks,
There's no way that'll work.
but he tries it anyway, and it does work. This is, of course, the main mechanic of the FNAF 2 video game. Here, you had to try to use a Freddy mask to try to trick the animatronics and their facial recognition child protection software to make them think that you were one of them so they'd leave you alone. Not sure how much of that will be in the actual movie movie beyond this one scene, but they had to include it somewhere, right? Otherwise, I mean, what would even be the point of adapting FNAF 2? Now, if you watched the trailer, you may have noticed that I've left a couple of things out so far. And hey, good eye, I did indeed strategically leave out a couple of moments and didn't dive into them specifically because it's really the key to the whole big plot of the movie. Why? Well, because of this line right here.
Some little girl got murdered here.
McKenna Grace's paranormal investigator mentions that a little girl was killed in this restaurant.
I forgot about that.
And if you know anything about FNAF lore, this can only be pointing to one person, Charlie Emily. If you don't know, Charlie, or Charlotte, was the daughter of Henry Emily, Afton's business partner in the lore. Afton killed Charlie here at this original location. All of this is information we got from the FNAF 2 game.
Yeah, we know
and
this.
beyond this verbal mention, I think we actually see Charlie in this trailer. During the climax, there's a split-second shot of a girl being attacked. This is the actress Audrey Lynn Marie, and though I haven't seen any official reporting on it, common speculation online is that she's playing Charlie. And I mean, she does have the look. She's a little girl with long brunette hair. Yeah, that checks out. And this even lines up with other evidence or questions that we have about this movie. For example, that voice we talked about earlier, the male one that I wasn't confident was Afton, that could be whatever actor they got to play Charlie's dad, Henry Emily. Plus, there's a shot of who I believe to be Springtrap looking at a little boy through a door's window, a boy that I couldn't really identify in a version of the pizzeria that is clearly well maintained. This is a flashback which would line up with the timeline of Charlie's murder. So, more than likely, we're getting the full Charlie storyline here in the FNAF 2 movie, which lines up with the puppet. Yeah, Charlie was the spirit that possessed.
I kind of forgot the fact that Henry hasn't been talked about at all in the FNAF 1 movie. It was just William and Vanessa Aftons. So the fact that Charlie is canon in this universe, which also would mean maybe Henry's canon, but that also probably means she's the one possessing the puppet, which is weird because our original theory was that Mike's brother is the one who's possessing the puppet. Or else I guess he'll just still continue being a mystery of where the hell he is.
The puppet in the game, so she's probably doing so here too. Now, that does create a bit of a problem for us here on Film Theory though. See, Matt and I previously theorized that Garrett, Mike's little brother that Afton killed in the first movie, was going to be taking the place of Charlie and become the puppet in the film universe. And if Garrett isn't going to be the puppet, well then that's a pretty big loose end that doesn't seem to be going anywhere. They will probably be addressing what happened to Garrett in this movie series. But if Garrett isn't going to be the puppet, then who's he going to be? Well, I do have a pretty good idea about that, but, well, this video is already way too long. I know, it really sucks when we have to break videos into parts, but this script is already almost 4,000 words long, and I know Tom also has a big FNAF video that the editors are working on, and this just can't be any longer even if I wanted it to be. But please, subscribe, because next week we are going to be doing a deep dive into who Garrett is and all of the evidence backing that up. But until then, remember that it's all just a theory. A film theory. And cut.
Walton Virals, that was from last time. Good theory. Yeah, this was kind of just a review of the FNAF 2 trailer. Really good trailer, really solid trailer, really solid theory. As always, like and subscribe to the Film Theorist and myself. Comment down below anything you'd want me to react to or how your day is going. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.